Hello, everybody. Welcome all to the Supermoms Unleashed. I'm so excited to welcome all for the second series of this superb show, Supermoms Unleashed, where we have inspiring personalities in our talk show and we get to learn so many new things from them so that we get empowered and live the life of our dreams without any compromises. And today, in this series, too, I have a fabulous guest with me. I understand most of you will have this question, and after being into family life for almost 10 years, 15 years by now, should I really need to have my own life, my own dreams? I feel whatever I'm doing is not really satisfied, but let that be okay. Let me take it as fate and live the life, rest of my life as well, the same way. If at all you have such kind of a question running up or popping up in your mind right now, then this show is especially for you. That is God's message for you from this show and from the inspiring personality that we have as guests today. Her name is Anita Reddy. She has won her life, she has won her dreams beyond all her restrictions and challenges at the age of 38. Yes, after being into family life for almost 15 years, she got married in her early 20s, and till 38 she was into family life. And after that, when she realized that there is a need to live her own life, to live her passion and her dreams, she gave up lot of her challenges and bloomed beyond her comfort zone to live the life that she desired to live for herself. Let's hear more and more about her own life journey and get inspired forever, be empowered, and feel that life is more than fate. We can drive our own life by the way that we wanted to live. All right, mothers, let's have our beautiful guest today. Welcome, Anita ma'am, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Aishwarya. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you. Lovely seeing you here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, Anita ma'am, the first and foremost thing that strikes me when I went through your profile to understand more about you as a person is all of your decisions are really quick. Be it in your blogs or be it in your profiles, all that I have understood is most of your decisions that you have taken is like within 2 minutes, within 5 minutes, just over a call with some strangers, and you just went on with your decision in your life. Please tell us more about it. What is triggering you, or what is driving you to take such kind of quick decisions in your life?
Okay. First, I'll appreciate. I don't think anybody has ever asked me this question, so it really comes as a surprise. Yeah, I think like you shared in the initial thing, most of my life I lived very conventionally and did things how we were all taught as children: be planned, be mature, don't be like a kid, and all the gyan that we hear as kids. While there is validity in that, I think in that some of the kid in us gets lost. The innocence we hold without judging ourselves, without being too anxious and wanting some restriction. There's a lot that is happening within us. And I think I also reached a point where I was like, okay, I have done life according to what I knew. And I did things what society told me or what I thought was the right way to forward. But at some point there was still a lot of frustration that was there while I was still having fun. Not that it was a very boring life, but in spite of that, when it came to decision making, I did sense there was a lot of anxiety in me. And even with that anxiety, with a lot of thinking, when I made decisions, they still somehow, some of them went wrong. Some of them came back to bite me, and they said, what? So then I was like, okay, is there a different way to do it? I think that was my exploration, where I said, okay, maybe for a change, I when I was 38 and there was a whole bunch of things happening, and my sudden decisions did not impact somebody else's life, neither my family nor my children's life. At that point I said, okay, the only person who is going to get impacted is me. So at this point, maybe I should try this out. And I think that's how those fast-paced, very spontaneous decisions happened. And even there, some worked in my favor, some did not work in my favor. I will not lie. But I think, so whether you think a lot and take decisions or you do it spontaneous, I think you need to keep revisiting those decisions. I think that has been my takeaway. That it's okay, even if you make a decisions and if you need to recheck at them, after, after a couple of time, that it should, I don't think we should be hardwired to, okay, I've made this decision, now I can't change my decision. It's okay. It's okay if you realize that, okay, that decision was wrong. Let's revisit that and make a new decision.
Correct.
So keeping yourself fluid and working with both thinking and spontaneity, I think that's the middle ground. So good to experiment.
Awesome, awesome. I think I'm in line with you, ma'am, because even in my book, I have written the same sentences. Saying that it's better to take timely decisions than to take no decision at all. Well, I mean, in a later phase of our time, and then learn from our own decisions. Let it be good or bad. There is no good decision or bad decision. It's all about taking some timely decisions and actions, and you learn from it, right? At your sentences is also in line with it. So yeah, definitely we have to revisit our decisions. And from only through that we will be getting all our learnings, right? Correct.
Absolutely.
Super, super, man, super. And my second question is very, very special for me. Okay. So here's the beautiful question for all of you. Okay. So from UK to Mongolia, she has traveled 15,000 kilometers and along with one and another woman, right? And throughout this journey, you have crossed many borders, and also you have been and halted in other different countries as well, which are totally different to you, and for your partner as well. Correct? So, how was your life experience? There would have been a lot of times that you have met with some life and death experiences, and from there you would have come out of it. You would have had your own experiences, right? And for a person like me who have not even traveled alone more than 3 hours, at this question, this seems to be an amazing thing to do. And I understand definitely life will not be the same when such things we do it very adventurous way. But then what drive you to do that? And from that, what did you learn out of it as well?
I don't know what drove me to it, very frankly. I think it was a friend's call who said she has a sister and she's planning to do something crazy and she's looking for a crazy partner. And the only other crazy person that I know is you. I think just listening to 3 crazy words in one sentence was enough for me to get me going. I'm like, okay, seems exciting. Let's go for this. I hadn't met Chandni till then. And we were, very new to each other. And I think only then I reached out to Chandni and asking, okay, what is this crazy thing that you want to do? And so she was the initiator and she said, okay, there is something called Mongol Rally and this. She gave me the website. She gave me the know-how. I was not a rallyist and I can't even, drive a manual car. I only drive automatic car. And she was the one who was driven across, US, and she's done some traveling, but I had no know-how. And when she said that, I said, okay, looks exciting. By which time I think I was already in a zone to explore different things. And this, obviously, traveling was a bug that I had by that time. And traveling 20 countries, in unfamiliar territory and just 2 women, and that too in an old car. You're not even taking like a 4-wheel drive where you're safe and secure. This is like one 18-year-old Nissan Micra, which we took and was like, I think 15 or 18-year-old and ready to break down kind of a car. And then 2 women and no support system. We were like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. I think that's something that I was sure about. I didn't know why I wanted to do it. It is, I think, it was also my way of breaking stereotypes, my way of breaking conventions and seeing what it holds for me. I don't think at that point I looked at, okay, I'm going to be this inspiration or people are going to see something in me different, but I wanted to explore it for myself. I think that is what led me to that journey. And in terms of learnings, I think, the journey itself, like, I think, we all keep listening that the destination is not important. The journey is important, but it is very different when you're actually on a journey. I think even now it's like 2017, I did that Mongol Rally. And even now, every time I visit a story, I read my own blog, I read what I went through. Every time a new thing comes up. So I think that the learnings that I had from that entire journey still keep cropping up. And they come in a new way, depending on where my life journey is right now. So the experience per se, I think traveling, what it does, it opens up borders. The conditioning that we have, okay, we are Indians, or I'm a woman, or this is how my lifestyle is. I cannot survive like this. I'm used to these kind of comforts. It breaks away all those notions. 45 days we were in that car with no AC. When Europe, the temperatures were like 45 degrees. So car pretty much felt like 55 degrees. We had these dupattas, wet dupattas, circling our car just to keep ourselves cool. We were waiting in borders for like 6-7 hours in the queue. we at that point I was a vegan. My Chandni was almost vegan, and these are all meat eating countries, and we were like, okay, what are we going to eat? And just the fact that we didn't know each other, we are spending 45 days together in a car, cooked up for like good 10-12 hours, when the journey itself is tough. Some of these roads in Pamer Highway and all that are so rugged, and even the nearest help, if the car breaks down and all, the nearest help is good 24 hours away. You camp in the in the middle of nowhere, and you have somebody coming and checking up on you, and you don't know, you're crossing borders, so obviously you cannot carry any weapons or pepper spray, nothing like that. So you have nothing, no protection mechanism, which we are technically told carry. At best, I think the protection mechanism where we had was one kitchen knife that we had. And going through that, and then I think one of the nights we spent in an unknown person's house, and he was so extremely friendly. So even to have that conversation and then jump in and be willing to explore. I'm not saying we jumped in to put ourselves, at risk, but anywhere we go. So even in our no circumstances, I think the risk is always there. But wanting to look beyond that risk and see that, hey, how do we do this? I think that was like a beautiful experience as a woman for me. Knowing that, I think the family and everybody, friend circle were more worried about us than we were about ourselves. So it was a very enriching experience to look at different walks of life, different kind of women. Like, one of the notions that broke for me at that point was, you're driving through these mostly dictatorship countries where we hear that, not much education is there. The lifestyle is very, very poor, and, the women there, are mostly in the farms, kind of a thing. But even there, it was nice to see women actually doing hitchhiking. And there was no inhibition about it. The same thing if I had to do in my own country, like India, and even in a city, maybe I would think twice. But there, those women did not have that. And that led me to think that, okay, is it about education, or is it about my own mindset that is holding me back? Because I think news, we only hear about, women molesting and rape and all things. We don't hear about the good things. And trust me, that entire Mongol rally, I only heard good things.
Wonderful.
From men, from women, from my own experiences, people who came out of the blue to help us out. You're somewhere and you have a flat tire, and between both of us, we couldn't open the tire up in spite of all the training that we did. So we needed help. And people did come, two strangers in a no man's land where they don't even know English. People did come up and help. I think those are the things that was my biggest takeaways. That my judgment space for a lot of countries and the conditions where they come from changed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Actually, when we are there to explore ourselves, our own journey, we explore a different point about the whole world, right? So that opens up a lot of our limiting barriers and helps us to see life all new. Correct? That is what exactly has happened in your life as well.
Yeah.
So would you recommend such kind of travels for any woman?
Definitely.
And if so, what kind of risk calculation?
Say that again, sorry.
No, if so, what kind of risk, calculated risk we have to take according to you?
See, I'm always a big believer in my gut and my intuition. And I think that helped us through. So we knew kind of when to this thing. I also believe that there is a universe and there is an energy, and you can stay off risk if your thoughts are clear and you stay with the positive thought process. I think that it's very difficult to explain it, but I think we never got into really trouble in that sense.
This is very, very important. This is very, very important, Anita.
Yeah. So because everyday life also you can explore. It's not that you have to go on a travel. Yes, it's nice to go on a traveling spree, but any which way you can explore. I think I know that some women, either they have small children or whatever is the family restriction, joint family, people are scared for them, or their own, maybe the financial restrictions. Not many will have the option to or privilege to do what I was able to do. But even in that, am I willing to explore myself beyond what is visible? We women get, I think all of us, including me, get stuck in our environment. We don't see our own potential. Actually, women, I believe, have a huge potential if we allow ourselves to be. while the entire world, we say it's a patriarchal society and we are allowed to this, we are not allowed this. While that is true, it's also true that how many things am I willing to explore?
All right, I understand, ma'am. So,
Yeah.
mothers, from Anita's point of view, the biggest learning that I received is when our thoughts are clear, when we are ready to hear our own intuitive voice and go with that, I think we will face all good things. When we see good things with right perspective and attitude in life, we can ignore all the negatives and hit our own goals and explore the life that is waiting for us for sure. So please don't have any fears, any anxieties in your life that is not going to help you take anywhere. So when you have the gut and the intuition power with you, you can go miles and miles is what Anita is saying. Okay.
I will add to that. It is not about not having fears. I
Mm,
think can all of us have fears in whether it is our own personal safety, family,
mm,
children,
mm,
partner, friends. We have those fears. In
mm.
spite of fears, can we do something different? I think that's a question I would want each of us to explore. That okay,
All
there is a, but can we take that leap of faith and do things differently? We
wonderful.
have come so far and we are still maybe struggling in some areas. At
Mm,
that point, do I want to see it differently? Do I want to explore a different part of me?
wonderful. Yeah, man. We understand that. Okay. So my next question to you will be, after being in a routine life till 38 years of your age, what was your breaking point to recognize your potentials? What?
Uh, so I think a bunch of things because I had this at 38. I think why specifically 38 is at 38 I had like a whole bunch of health issues. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and my doctor told me that don't climb staircases, use lift wherever possible. I was already battling a major sinus issue for which they said okay they need to put some tubes into my the brain thing and pull out the liquid. I was already battling vertigo. I had a major issues with my spine. So I would, a lot of time it needed bed rest. There were issues with my low blood pressure. So there were times that I would simply collapse, not knowing why. I had low glucose levels. Then I think also my cycles were haywire, and they said, okay, you're hitting your premenopausal stage, and I'm 38.
Mm, mm,
Is this like the end of life? I mean, is there nothing beyond this? Why am I struggling with so much? I think that kind of set pace for me to rethink, because I
mm.
was also a angry person. I was like absolutely frustrated. And obviously, if a mother or a woman is frustrated, the first place it comes out is on children, which was
Correct.
very unfortunate, right?
Mm,
Because
mm,
you don't take it out on an adult. We all
mm,
have our thing on that, but it does come out on the children.
mm.
So it was happening that, and I realized I caught myself removing my frustration on my children, and my health was struggling like this. I said, okay, there must be something else.
Mm.
It also, I think, got added on by the kind of life or people around me that I wanted, and they were somehow in a different frame of mind,
Mm.
and it was hard for me to look at, okay, am I expecting something wrong from life?
Mm.
I have been a housewife and I took care of my children, my family and extended family. I was doing all the right things, but
Mm.
somehow a part of me was absolutely unhappy and was not at peace.
Mm.
It was to just put on a smile and put a lovely picture on Facebook and social media and happy about it. Everybody said, oh, what a lovely smile you have, everything going for you, but only I knew deep down inside that there was something that was bothering me.
All right.
And I think this process led me to explore. I said, okay, what is it?
Mm.
What is it that, one of the moments, they say, that's one moment. I think I used to have this whole bunch of like 20 alarms on my mobile.
Mm.
I have to do this for my younger one. I have to do this for my older one, my mother-in-law this, my husband this, my mother this. There's a whole bunch of things. And one day I suddenly realized that there was not a single alarm for Anita. There was not a single alarm for Anita. And I'm like, okay, where is Anita in all this? While Anita is, okay, the wife and mother and daughter, daughter-in-law, friend, and every other role that she's playing, where is the real Anita in all this? And I think that led me to saying, okay, I want to find the Anita. I want to know who she is. I want to know what she likes. What does she want to do? And that, I think that took me to traveling first, and then they took me to trekking next, and then from trekking I went to running marathons, and then the Mongol rally happened. So I think every bit I did the 10-day Vipassana program. I looked at yoga, and I think then little by little, before I knew it, all my health problems just simply disappeared.
Wonderful. Please accept my claps, okay? Please accept it. It is mainly because at the age of 38, you saw life all new, and you somehow had the driving force. No, this should not be this way. There is some other way to it. Let me explore it. That attitude inside you has helped you to realize your self-love. Where is Anita? And how can I get back to her? How can I reconnect with her? That feeling is just awesome. Many mothers here who are listening to this really wanted to connect with themselves because they are a wonderful cook. They are a wonderful mother to their children, but they don't ever realize that they are not a wonderful person to themselves. That is mainly when mothers soon after the wedding they give up everything that they have for their children, family and extended family, and they get lost in this complete journey. And within no time, within 15 to 18 years, they get so many diseases in their body because they don't have expression at all. They don't express their emotions, be it positive or negative. They don't express really well, and because of this they acquire so many diseases in their body. And I'm glad that you informed us each of your problems that you had during that phase of time and what drive you to overcome all of it. I think this will really help the mothers who are listening to it and to take some action. That is the most important thing, right? Knowing is not doing, right? So they have to help themselves. So I think
while the medical science has its know-how about it and all that, I think we all, most of us who have experienced it will agree that there is a thought process behind it. That there is thinking that is happening that is not allowing my body to heal.
Correct.
And setting that right is the first step. And like very rightfully you said, that thanks to I think your experience, what you have seen with your mother, you realize that how important self-love is.
Yes.
And self-love is not about leaving other roles. You can see the role, but it's important to, I think, understand for each of us that those roles are possible only if I am there.
Correct.
Unless, Anita, there is no mother, you might as well be an imperfect mother. This whole need to be perfect in every other form is not allowing me to be me. Correct. So can we explore those parts of us? And it's never too late.
Correct. And whatever we do, we have to do it without guilt, right, Anita? Because a lot of mothers, though they understand that it is not it is paining for them, they still do it because they think their fate is to do only this. And they do it with a lot of guilt, and that is directly reflecting in their children. And they think that they are helping their children and the next generation with nice knowledge with respect to all the education that is available today, but there is no life skills at all because it is not there in the mother, so they are not able to pass it on correctly to their children as well. They instead pass a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety and all of it. So I think self-love can break each and every thing and show themselves as an empowered being in front of their children first and foremost, right?
Absolutely, Aishwarya. I think children learn what kind of person we are, not what we teach them, not what we preach them, or not the advice that we give them. It is important for children to know us with all our faults and with all our vulnerabilities. Like for me, I remember one of my conversation with my older son when he said that, you are so successful, dad is so successful, how will I ever face this world? And that's when I realized that he's only seeing my success. He's not seeing where I have failed, because we don't share that. We don't allow them to see that. So they do not have the actual grasp of the reality of the situation. None of us can determine what our children's future will be. But what we can do is look long term. In short term, it's okay if you have to outsource cooking, and if you're not there for a meal, or if you have to go 3 days out because you need that break, it's all right. You don't have to be in guilt, because in the long term, the child will also understand, whether he or she, that I need to give time to myself. It's okay to pause. Otherwise, in the rat race that we are in, this year has been different thanks to COVID, but otherwise, it's much in a race. Where is the race? The race you hear about, children going through pressure and depression and, drugs and alcohol and everything because of the stress that is being built up. And we, whether we like it or not, we parents are a part of it. Society is a part of it. So how can we release that? So if you take time off for yourself and tell that it is important for my healing, even if it is slightly inconvenient for the children and the family, it's all right. Because that is what the child will learn for tomorrow, that I am important. And it's okay to take a pause and rejuvenate myself and start again. So start doing that.
Beautifully explained, ma'am. Thank you so much. When you started being on barefoot, more than appreciations, judgments, and negative comments would have haunted you. How did you handle it?
It was a very difficult space. So a little to add to that is I myself did not know why I was doing it.
Okay, but before that, ma'am, we will just let our viewers know that you were on barefoot experiment for close to 2 years at experimenting life and experimenting your own body, soul, and mind without wearing slippers at all. So she was like that for 2 years, and she has her own learnings out of it. Let us hear from her now. Okay.
Yeah. So I think barefoot journey is not something that I planned for. I was running in one of these, marathons, and I saw people running barefoot, and somehow that really excited me. And post which I had a injury because of, I had very good expensive shoes. In spite of that, I had an injury, and I was like, okay, if people can run barefoot and I with expensive shoes can get hurt, okay, there is something else that I don't know. And that kind of led me to experience. And then I said, oh, this sounds exciting. And I think that, like I said, I always followed my heart. I looked at what is it in it for me. So initially I thought, okay, let me try it. So 2-3 months, I used to go walk barefoot. And then the more I did it, I started enjoying it. I started loving it. Around the time I had a trek planned in 2016 to Himalayas, which was like a 18-day Adi Kailash trek. And it was easy to go barefoot on that because it was a religious trek. While I'm personally not a religious person, but I like spirituality. So that my spirituality also led me to Kailash Mansarovar and Adi Kailash and that whole journey. And I said, okay, if there is any place I can go barefoot and nobody will question me about why you're going barefoot, is on a religious trek. So in India, at least that makes it a little simpler. So the only way to harden my feet to go into some terrain like Himalayas was to make it faster. I had hardly 3 months time. So I said, okay, let go of my footwear. So wherever I walk, I will be barefoot. That will make my, hardening the soles a little more easier, is what my thought process is. I was not prepared for the kind of judgment and the kind of comments that I will face. I had no clue. That much of thought process I did not have. So, the thing was from family itself, it starts. It's like, so I started going to, weddings and theaters, and restaurants, everywhere barefoot. And I remember I had this argument, and when the family said, you're coming to restaurant like this, without footwear? And I said, yes. And they were like, no, we're not coming. So that was my first thing, like, oh my God, this is going to be really difficult. But I'm also, I think, very, very focused. When I take up something, I try to, figure out a way. And I didn't go for that dinner that particular day. And I said, okay, this is how it is going to be. I think by that time, I was very clear that whatever I needed to do for the family, I was doing it well. So I was very, very determined that, okay, if this is what I want to do for it, then if I am accommodating you, you also need to accommodate me. I think that was kind of, I became very stubborn at that point. And I said, okay, I need to do this. And people ask me, even friends, very close friends, when you're holidaying with them, they would say, why are you doing this? And I would say, I don't know. I really didn't have the answer, but I said, I want to do it. And that's how the whole journey started. Because I also realized when you go barefoot and, especially in India, the roads are dirty, and I was using public washrooms. I was going trekking. I was everywhere, in trains, the places that you can imagine. And I did my reading. I did some research on, is it really going to hurt me? It's my life at risk. It's my feet at risk. I will be careful, obviously. People don't realize that I am going to be careful. Just because I'm this crazy woman doesn't mean I'm going to put myself at risk. So I did my research, and I actually figured out that, the mobile phones that we carry in our hands, we carry it to the washroom, we carry it everywhere, and we speak into it, which is very close to our, the nose and the mouth. It has like a lot more germs than what the germs that we have on our feet. And that's like proven research. And I'm like, okay, now this makes sense. And when our feet are inside the shoes, they are wet, they're cramped, they're smelling. But if our feet are actually out in the open, we all know science, right? We all studied science.
Mm-hmm.
Germs don't survive in a dry environment. They need wet environment. So all this, the logic behind it made sense to me. So once I was clear, I would answer it like that. I said, no, your mobile phone has a lot more germs. And continued. And as long as I was happy and I was happy doing it, I said, okay, this sounds fun. And I went on to finish that trek really, promptly. Yes, it was a painful process. I wouldn't say it was easy, but yeah, it's okay. It was still my choice. And that's how I think 2 years I survived.
Okay.
Wearing shoes.
Okay.
In almost all environments. I think my highest temperature, I walked like in mid-noon in Andhra at about 47, 48 degrees.
Oh my God.
I have done like a snow walk, which was maybe, I think the temperature was -2, -3. And I've never had injuries on my feet, not a single cut. And I walked with glass pieces, with, in forest where there are pine needles. I walked everywhere.
You didn't hurt anywhere?
No.
Wonderful that is. Maybe that again talks about your emotions. Maybe you have aligned your self very well, that you have just ignored all the dirty things that is around you, and the path that you have set for yourself is all perfect. And would that really happen?
So I think when we wear shoes, the entire foot works like a single unit. So we think that we need this much surface area to place our feet.
Okay.
But when walking bare feet, if you put your feet and say if there's a glass piece here, you can just put it like this. It's easy to work your muscles out. So just the feet section has close to 1,000 muscles and nerves and blood vessels, which we don't use at all. So my feet grew from a 36 to a 39 size in that 2 years.
Oh my God.
An age of 40 years. So it's actually doing.
I'm hearing all this very new, and also I cannot imagine walking in -3 degrees Celsius. Even in this hot temperatures, it's kind of possible. But then, and when your foot is like almost frozen, and walking over -3 degrees Celsius with no blood running, the feeling and all, it'll be quite different. With that, how did you manage?
Yeah, so I'm not like immediately jumping into like a -3, right? So when you barefoot, the other thing that happens is the blood circulation in your feet is increasing because all your muscles are working. So your blood vessels are also actually thicker, is I think what it is. And when I went into the first time I put my feet down, it was obviously, it's like you just pull it back. It's like freezing temperature. But then you keep putting it back again and again. The mind works. It knows that you're going to go into that -3 and it starts sending out more blood there.
Okay.
And then it's possible for me to walk.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Actually, our body has a very intelligent mechanism on making things work.
Mm-hmm.
We have to allow it to do.
Correct. We have to allow it to do. That's a very big sentence which has 1,000 meanings to it.
We just have to allow it. The moment, see, my body doesn't know how old I am. Like a lot of people ask me, you're 45 now. How do you do things like this? I said, my body doesn't know I'm 45. I have to keep telling it that I'm 16, and it works.
Definitely, it works. I can see your energy. I can see your head, face, and you. Except that gray hair, I don't see it anywhere. So I think it perfectly works for you.
Yeah, it does for each of us actually, and all of us are capable. I'm not like a special human being or something. It is simply what you believe in, and it is possible.
Correct. When we align our thoughts and beliefs in the right direction, and miracles do happen to us. And we just need to have that focus as well, as you told. Everywhere you had the challenges, and beyond that you had that focus, that determination. Correct?
Yeah. And sometimes focus may not be aligned with a purpose or a success. It may not be. It may not lead to anything. Because I think a lot of us question, okay, what is the purpose of life? Okay, if I do this, what will I get? If I fail here, what will happen? But we only look from those terms. But with every lesson, and if you keep aligning yourself to what is happening around you, I think there are possibilities. And even if we fail, so what? There will be another chance to take those learnings and do something new.
Correct. I agree with you. Wonderful. Wonderfully said. Okay. So my next question to you will be, how do you plan your schedules and responsibilities to ensure you don't compromise the most important things of your life?
So fortunately for me right now, my boys are 22 and 20, and pretty much, I'm independent of those things. But I think when I look at in general, I speak to other mothers and women. I think it is important to prioritize what is important for you, and and start from a self level. I think that is what I would recommend. At self level, what do you want to do for yourself? Your role as a mother, what do you want to do? Your role as a wife or a partner, what do you want to do? Your role as a daughter and daughter-in-law, what do you want to do? So set priorities. Know how much of energy are you going to put in where? Because now, whether we like it or not, we are playing so many roles. Like maybe 100 years back, our parents or our ancestors did not have the added weightage of even a career. Now we are also independent thinking, so we have a career also to balance. So know what to let go and what to hold on to. I think it's important, because what we do is, while my energy, like for example, I think typically most people complain about mother-in-laws.
Correct.
I said to run your environment, knowing that how much energy I want to put and where do I want to channelize my energy, instead of getting into the whole negative thing about, okay, this is not working, this is not working. There will always be challenges, whether it is at office, within your own children, or within your own family. There are going to be challenges. Now it's your choice. What do you want to prioritize? Some things you should be okay to let go. Like for example, when I started running, I'm a huge party buff. You give me Bollywood nights and I can dance till 4 a.m. in the morning. But when I had to get to running, I had to let go of those parts of me. I prioritized my fitness and my running over this one. So instead of maybe partying 3 times a month, I brought it down to once a month. But that's my choice. So see what works for each of them, because see, none of us can give advice to anybody else. It is your own role, your own choice on what makes you happy. Any choice that we make, what I recommend is to look at the long term. So if like for me, for example, as a woman, I don't like cooking. Though I cook well, I'm not a big fan of being in the kitchen and cooking. Thankfully, I always had somebody who would cook for me. But I know women who feel guilty about it. Oh, I'm not able to cook my son's or daughter's favorite meal. It's okay. Huh? When you have the time and when you're happy doing it, even if it is once a month, do it then. Because you have other priorities. Like I said, you prioritize yourself. You will know where to cut corners. You will know which ones to let go of and which one to hold on to.
Right. I understand that. And I think maybe understanding more about the needs and wants of every person helps us to actually prioritize our own things better, right? And most of us are behind our wants, which is not giving the inner peace that is within that is there within us. So when we understand, no, this is my want, I'm just behind that. Like most of us doesn't like our profession, but then we are behind those things just to earn the financial part of it, right? And because of that, there is a vacuum that is always created in us, and there is a guilt and anxiety everywhere. So instead, if we can understand what is our need, and then we can align all our thought process and emotions towards it, the negativity when we run behind our need is really less. And when it comes to our wants, right? Maybe that will help us better to prioritize our own.
Financial security is important. I mean, if you have a job, even if you don't like, if it is that is taking care of your financial security, I think it is still relevant. But keeping the basic securities in place, your physical, emotional, and financial security is taken care of. And beyond that, what can you do?
Okay.
So if you start trusting that whole process, that okay, because most of us, I think, also live in doubt, women in general. Even when we're working, it's like, okay, this is the only option I have. But actually, it is. And when we align our thoughts, you will see different possibilities. That's why I keep going back to thought process. I keep going back to, you need to trust yourself. You need to believe that you're capable of a lot more. And only then you will start exploring your potential. Because anytime you explore anything new, there is a chance of a risk of a pitfall. Right. Be prepared for that. Be mentally prepared. Have a safety net around you. especially financially, because you don't want to get dependent on somebody else. And in that spectrum, what are the things that you can work with? So we use a lot of these pie charts and so many other modalities in our career. Why not use it for your personal life? And see, talk out a plan and see, okay, what is my heart desiring and what is my need, which is a reality situation. And if it means that, okay, I cannot travel as much, I cannot shop as much, or I cannot, do this many whatever it is, few things, if you can let go of, they will always, in the long term, they will be a gain. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So my next question will be, how do you help women to reconnect with their inner potential? Well, I understand that you have, you are a co-founder of Talking, right? So through that initiative, what is that you are trying to do for women well-being?
Yeah. So Talking is the startup that, I and a very close friend Veda have, started this in February this year. And I think it's my personal journey where I realized when I was going through all the frustration and a lot of things, while they were family and they were very close friends, I still did not find guidance on how to go forward. What do I do with my entire thoughts, where I was feeling that I was lacking, or I had doubts in my head, fears within me, and I didn't know where to reach out to, because everywhere you go, I felt I will be judged, and that held me back. So a lot of what was going on within me, I could not put it out. And yeah, eventually I think with a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of shifts in my life, I did receive that guidance. I was like, okay, is there a different way to make this guidance available, make this, because I also realized that when I was going through it, it felt like I'm the only one in this battle. Now looking back, when I talk to people who were there in my life then, I realized they were also fighting those battles, but none of us spoke about it. Right? So Talking is a forum where conversations happen, where I bring women together. We choose a topic and we simply share our perspectives. Okay. It is about giving advice, because all of us, I believe definitely that each of us has a potential to find our own solutions. But sharing our perspectives, sharing, like they say, no, you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself. You can learn from others' mistakes. I said, okay, let's make a forum where we bring women together and we share our journeys, because each of us has survived a bunch of things and we are standing here and become the person who we are today. So while we cherish that journey, let's also make it a shared journey where other women who may be fighting a similar battle, they see somebody else and there is hope.
Correct.
That things can be different. And that's what we are, channelizing our whole thought process. Of course, we've trained as, behavioral trainers and, psychologists. And we said, okay, if we put out this forum and then women, so that's what has happened from the time we started in February. We have participants right from almost, Geneva to Hong Kong, all across, thanks to COVID, because it is a virtual platform. So it really worked in my favor that, we have this virtual platform. And women can connect to each other because they see, oh, she has finished the battle which I am fighting right now. And then they exchange numbers and they talk to each other. And then you become like an entire support system.
Correct.
No way to reach out. And we can say anything and everything. There is no judgment. You can say that I am feeling like this, I am feeling like that. And it is absolutely your story. There is nobody there to judge you. And it's a confidential space. We don't record. We don't, say that you're right, you're wrong. There is no right, wrong, nothing at all. So I'm the agenda of Talking is to reach out to these people. And in that process, help them to unleash their potential. Because end of the day, what do we want? We all want to become better than who we are today. So in that better, can we access our potential, become, more empowered? Or even including financially, emotionally, in all formats, can we become more empowered? Because I truly believe that we have the Shakti in us and we are somehow not having access to that Shakti.
I truly resonate with your words, and I love the way that you have explained about this Talking. And even in my book, it just reminds me of that word I have used as relative successor, because when I was in trouble, when I wanted to actually seek help, I don't know to whom should I speak to. Okay, so I was just googling everywhere, and then I found it some experts at trustworthy experts, because I found that they will be having some solutions. They will not be pacifying my emotions anymore. I think more than pacifiers, we need solution finders everywhere. And as you told, the solution is right there within us. We need that triggering force, the activating force through experts, or it can be any other person who have undergone or same kind of similar kind of problem as well. So I
Yeah.
have termed it as relative successes, and I'm glad
Hmm.
that you in your talking foundation you are creating such relative successes to refer to. And when I understand that you have a similar journey, or you have a similar thought pattern like me, and you have gone through it, and you are now in a success part of it, or you have found a better solution, then I can easily relate my story with you, and I can seek help from you, guidance from you. It may not be like 100% work. Whatever has worked for you, it may not 100% work for me as well, because my situation, the person that I am, and my support system, everything will be different. But then I can get the confidence from you, correct? But then I can get the learnings out of your own experiences, and through that I can create my own action maps, correct? So that is what
Absolutely.
I have termed as
Even
relative
the
success.
even the hope, right? Because when we are going through the most toughest situations, even that one small glimmer of hope that,
Correct.
oh, there is a possibility, that
Yes.
itself, I think, a huge strength.
Correct.
And because when you are in the thick of, challenges, it is very difficult to hold on to something because your entire world around you is shaking up.
Correct.
At
Correct.
that point, a smallest, one conversation can, change an entire ecosystem.
Correct. When Anita has done that, why not me? I'm also a human being like Anita, so I can also do it, right? That ray of hope.
Absolutely.
That ray of hope.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm so glad that talking is doing this wonderful job. Superb. May God bless you people, and may your journey amplify in numbers, so millions of people get your help as well through talking.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just about bringing women together. I think when we all come together, I think there is amazing and beautiful miracles that are bound to happen.
Superb. Okay, so what are your top tips for challenging our listeners to lead with empowerment and recognize that leading with empowerment can be their competitive advantage in their life?
Uh, I think the main strength is to be unique.
Hmm.
I think we all, whether it is our schooling system or we fall into certain molds, and if we stand out from that mold, it becomes very awkward. I think empowerment is also about accepting your strengths just the way they are. They may not be like somebody else whom you role model or whom you look up to, or, it can come in different shapes and forms. Be all right with that. I think that is the true empowerment of just being you, true blue you. Because you pick the entire world population. I don't think there are two people who are similar. They may look similar, their success may sound similar, but their psyche as a child, what they went through, how their parents were, how their ancestors were, how their body is made, what their career shaped up, what kind of life partner they have, everything. If you take all the nuances, there are no two people who are alike. I think it's time we accept and acknowledge and feel pride in our uniqueness. I
Even with
wouldn't
our
um,
weakness, even
even
with
with our
accepting.
weaknesses.
Correct. Okay.
Absolutely, it is also part of me, right?
Hmm.
My weaknesses, my so-called things that are holding me back, or my regrets, or my mistakes, everything, all of it is me. So why not cherish them? They all have a purpose. So I think the for me, at least for me, that's what stood out. I mean, the person who I was 10 years back, if you meet me, I would be lost in the crowd because I was fitting in. I was not standing out like that. And I myself had a problem standing out. I used to keep telling people, I'm this weird, crazy person. I'm this weird, crazy person. Till a friend came up and said, hey, instead of calling yourself weird and crazy, can you call yourself unique? And that really, it made a big difference to how I saw myself. That, hey, yes, I am unique. And hence I am me. And I think that's the first step to empowerment. That just be you. And then you see what you want to do with that. Then you find a purpose. Then, all the gyan, I think so many self-help books, and there's bunch of things that you will connect to. Follow your heart. Maybe nobody else has done it the way you want to do it, but it's okay. Still do it. I don't think talking as a forum is there, but I don't even know where it will go. But I want to give that. I want, I and Veda keep talking about, okay, let's allow the universe to guide us on this. I think that is how you look at yourself and you look at the things you do. And trust me, you will find the path. And you will find the power within you.
When you have the right intention, correct? Everything happens and falls in place for you from the universe.
Today, who I am is because somebody guided me. Somebody shared their light with me. And today, when I am talking to other women and they say, hey, Anita, you're so inspiring and all that. I said, somebody gave it to me. I am giving it to you. You pass it on to somebody else. Let's continue this, ripple effect and just make this world a more beautiful place.
Super. Super. Well said. Well said. And mothers, please do trust you are unique. You have your own unique strengths. You have your own unique weaknesses. Cherish both of it. Just don't try to mask your weaknesses and be all your good self and try to fit in other shoes that will not give you any peace and happiness. Just be with you, be with the flow, and just hear your own intuitive inner voice. Whatever it says, what kind of life that you want to live it, but ensure that it is not giving any harm to anybody else. Ensure that your thought processes and the intentions are right up, that is not hurting anybody else. Take the risk when it comes to your own life, correct? That is also is very important, and also be unique with that.
Yeah. And when we say hurt others, sometimes being you may hurt others, but that's not your intention. You still not that weight. Like they say, one of the Spider-Man quotes I like is, with great power comes great responsibility.
Correct.
You need to be responsible to yourself when you are unleashing your power. Also know that others' journey is others' journey. It cannot become your need to either change them or show them that, hey, this is the way forward. Because each of us are built very uniquely, even if it is your own partner, parents, or your own children also. Each of them have their own journey. You can only do how much is in your control. It's also our need that we want life in control. It never is. They say, the plan that the universe has manifested for you is better than the plan I have. So I think we need to somewhere trust that process.
Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, as you have told us about your yogic lifestyle and all of it, can you just give us a glimpse of why did you just turn out to be a vegan, and how did this yoga lifestyle really help you? So that to help yourself physically fit and all of it, we can get some inspiration out of it.
Sure. I think when I was battling those health issues, I realized that food and physical exercise was a big thing. Yoga I got introduced to, and I just loved the traditional yoga of the stillness and watching your breath, and that was for me a huge draw. And that's how I got into yoga. Vegan was my experiment. That also I was there for 2 years. I'm not a vegan right now. So 2 years I wanted to let go of things that I loved, especially curd. And desserts like rasmalai and things like that, which were all made of milk. And I was like, I was a hardcore non-vegetarian before that. And I said, what will it take to let go of everything and see what it is? Because at that point, I think the pain of animals in the milk and the meat, all that was getting to me. So I said, okay, let's work with this and see what happens. And it was an amazing experiment for me to see that, okay, you can actually survive with all these things, which I thought was impossible. Right. But later on, yes, I did, come out of vegan and I became more fluid with my lifestyle. Now, I think I simply observe my body on what my body is all right with, what it is not all right with. I think that's the middle ground. So I don't think there's one size that fits all. So I know a lot of friends who are vegan and it works excellently for them. And I know a lot of meat eating friends who also doing well from their health perspective. So see what works within your culture, within your house, and within your environment, what works best for you. I think go back to that and do everything very, very mindfully and consciously. I think that is what it is. Physical exercise is required. See, the body, I believe, is a temple that we've been given to stay in. No matter how much we run after money, career, joy, happiness, everything, all that is valid only if I have this body.
Correct.
Right? Contrary to what people say that this body has a soul. I believe that the soul has come in this vehicle called body.
Body, correct.
I need to take care of this. And I've gone through those health problems. So if you are healthy right now, don't wait till health problems come. Please take care of it right away. Because it is important. It is part of your self-care. Even if we take a car or a mixie or a fridge, we get it serviced. We don't wait for it to break down, right? And our body needs everyday mindfulness. It needs how do you say, a schedule where you say that I'm listening to my body and it is important to me. Give it that's due credit. When you start loving your body will respond back with love, and it will take care of you and what all other things that you want to do.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I feel it is a direct message for me as well. Okay, thank you. So my last question to you will be, please share your words of wisdom or pearls of learning for our own listeners.
I don't know what it is, because I have a lot to say, and I think every time I myself keep learning, so I think that also keeps shifting. One thing is, don't get caught in what somebody else has done, and maybe you are unable to do that. That doesn't measure anything for you. I think what is relevant to is anything that you have seen, heard, unless you own it up and you use it in your own life and then make it your own, then it is no more somebody else's wisdom. They say, the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is something that you read in books. Okay. Wisdom is something when you make it on your own. It cannot be shared. Trust yourself, believe in yourself. You're here on this earth. You're not, you're not inconsequential. You play a large role to your environment. So believe that. You need to wholeheartedly believe that you are here to be unique. And there is a purpose that you serve. And then you see the potential that, will get unleashed.
Wonderful, wonderful. Super, Anita. Thank you so much. It was like fabulous hearing so many good things, so many different kind of perspectives, and seeing a woman shining with a lot of positive attitude towards life. And I think it gives us goosebumps and inspiration both together. And when we hear and listen a lot of things about your own life journey and experiences, because you're not talking from a book, you're talking from your own life experiences. So it means a lot to any of us who hear it, right? So I'm glad that and I'm connected with you today. And definitely, I think our episode will have added a lot of value to our listeners as well. We hope that a lot of mothers do hear it and change at least one simple thing that is creating that guilt within them, so that they come out of their comfort zone and see life all new and find the solution within themselves. It is 100%
Absolutely
possible. Both you and me are sharing the same message to all of them there. Let them use it.
Very well said, Aishwarya. I think it is important to remember to do simple things. It is not about doing complicated stuff. It's about doing the simple stuff that makes all the difference.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for being in our show today.
Thank you, Aishwarya. This has been a pleasure revisiting my own journey. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, viewers. We will meet again and at another amazing episode with another inspiring personality very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.